Well, we have a packed hour plus ahead of us to celebrate what has been a phenomenal June 2024, the first official Upcycled Food Month here with Upcycled Food Association and a beautiful panel of our members working across the space. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am Amanda Owenbring, CEO of Upcycled Food Association, and really pleased to be joined today by the members you see on screen here. And we have so much to share and cover in a packed hour. So just in terms of housekeeping, feel free as we go through the next member by member descriptions of their work and what they do and where they focus, please use the Q&A feature. And if you have questions for our panelists, we'll do our best to answer them there by text and in real time and follow up as we can. And we're going to dive right on in and get started. So welcome to this convening by the Upcycled Food Association. Again, I'm Amanda Owenbring, CEO of UFA, and UFA is a global membership-based trade association with the core mission of accelerating the upcycled food economy. So what exactly is upcycling? Let's start there. So as we got our start almost 5 years ago now, creating a definition for upcycling was where this movement really began. So you'll see the definition here on screen is really rooted in 3 pillars. Why is upcycling so important? So it was a significant moment for the movement end of last year, and that late 2023, the US Environmental Protection Agency updated what had been its wasted food hierarchy to what you see on screen here, the wasted food scale. We all know how massive the problem of food waste is. Really, the first and foremost thing we are all doing is trying to prevent that food waste. But if and when that is not possible, the next solution on the U, as we like to call it, is to donate. And we're really thrilled that in this evolution, the EPA elevated upcycling to an equal value solution right alongside donate. So this is why it's such a key solution within fighting food waste, within fighting the climate crisis. And we're really pleased to see upcycling be a lever that we can pull. So here's a little bit of the metrics of the massive problem that is food waste globally. Estimated 1/3 of all food that we produce is lost or wasted. And if you were to take the emissions of that food waste globally, if those emissions were a country, they would be 3rd most emitting after the US and China. So not only is this a massive problem, within that problem, there is a huge opportunity to capture this delicious, nutritious food to help feed the people that we have in the world and help draw down that source of climate change emissions. So really, in our view as representing our members from working across this space, we are all mobilizing to help move into this massive market opportunity. There is so many ways and versions of taking what is currently a waste stream and alchemizing, transforming those waste streams into something of nutrition and something of value. And why is this important for you as an eater, as a human? This is one of the top ways that we individually, in the role that each of us have as individuals, as households, as workplaces, can do our part in drawing down climate. You'll see some of the measures that Project Drawdown has scientifically studied. Reducing food waste is that top, highest, most impactful choice that you can make on your everyday. So a little bit about UFA. We got our start nearly 5 years ago, as I mentioned, and we were founded by 9 original companies, really getting together to say, we're all doing this thing. What is this thing that we're doing? How can we speak about it together and really represent it out in the world? That was the definition of upcycling alongside experts in the field that you saw on screen. And that really led us as our next step to develop the standard, which became Upcycled Certified. So that mark that you see out in the marketplace. That launched in the US in 2021 and then launched internationally in 2022 and is in use globally. So fast forward to today, We are really pleased that now Upcycled Certified has been acquired by our partner organization, Where Food Comes From. So they are growing the certification globally out in the world, as well as UFA is now 240 members strong across 20 countries. So it's a really exciting moment to see our roots in North America being spread to every corner of the world. And here's a little bit about the growth in that time horizon. So specific to Upcycled Certified, that grocery store shelf that you see in every category out there, from Where Food Comes From, who is now administrating this certification. They're working with almost 100 companies that have 530 plus ingredients or products that are now Upcycled Certified. And of that total impact, over 1.25 million tons of food waste has been diverted since the certification launched in 2021. We're really excited to see a lot of those growth centers be in places within the food system where, no surprise, there's a lot of upcycling innovation. Here's one specific measure from recently: the boom of upcycled products within snacks. So do keep an ear and eye out for your local grocery store upcycled snack. And bringing us all together here today to mark this moment, the first ever Upcycled Food Month. It has been a phenomenal month of connecting, educating, spreading the word and the awareness about upcycling. So thank you for being with us to mark this moment. As part of the month of June, we are serving our global audiences. So I invite you to take a grab of this QR code and share your experience about upcycling. Where are you coming across it in the world? What is your perspective? And we're excited to share those learnings coming out of the month of June. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our first speaker, Dr. Jonathan Deutsch.
Hi, everyone. So great to see you, and really glad to be here. This presentation came out of originally a presentation we did in 2009 at a conference called Waste Expo, where we brought a bunch of upcyclers together who we were working with through a grant from the Clinial Foundation to do upcycled R&D support. And 5 years later, the growth of the UFA that Amanda described is just phenomenal. Following that 2009 presentation, a bunch of us who are speaking today and got together and said, we should really keep in touch. We have shared concerns, we have shared interests. How do we kind of continue the collaboration and raise all boats? And that conversation, along with others, have evolved into what UFA is today. So this group of panelists reconvened in May of 2024, just last month. And it feels like ages ago, but it was just last month, in Las Vegas at the Waste Expo again. And what we did was really do a sort of sector by sector overview of what's happening in ingredients and technology and CPG and food service. And it was sort of an upcycled lay of the land. And so we wanted to do that now again for you, for our community. I'll just tell you really briefly about what we do in the Drexel Food Lab to support upcyclers. It's also great to see some of our clients whose products we worked on here in the audience of the webinar. So any questions you have for one another, it's also great. So we can go to the next slide. So the Drexel Food Lab is a food product design and culinary innovation lab. We promote the health of people, planet, and economies through food product development and culinary innovation. You can go to the next one. We have basically three portfolios: health of people, planet, and economies. People is a lot of therapeutic foods work. Economies is a lot of small business support. And planet is a lot of upcycling and food waste minimization work. Our principles are do good, feed well, keep going. That's all I'll say about that. That's great. You can go back one. Oh, there we go. We have a master's in culinary and food science where students can focus in this work. And we also have certificates in food entrepreneurship and food innovation, where we work with students across the university. Go to the next one. And we always emphasize that our real products, while we work on food products, especially upcycled food products, our real product are our students who become your future employees, customers, vendors, suppliers, collaborators. Next slide. And they go out into the world, food service, manufacturing, community, nonprofit, food systems kind of work, and we're really proud of them. And some of them have in turn become UFA members and also UFA employers. The next one. And here's a little video that summarizes our work.
Food waste is a serious problem. Some estimate as much as 40% of food in the US ends up in the trash. That's everything from you tossing out milk that's gone bad to commercial food producers trucking out tons of scraps. That second piece is really where there's a big opportunity for change. And the Food Lab at Drexel University is helping make it happen.
Ours is a very practical challenge. It's what do we do with all this, right?
Food producers come to the Drexel Food Lab with a food waste problem, and students will develop commercially viable products, what they call upcycled food.
The project we're doing right now is for Bimbo Bakeries USA, which is the largest bakery in the country. They have about $635 million of bread and other baked goods that are returned to the factory because they've reached their sell-by date.
We get returns from our different customer teams, whether it be grocery stores, convenience stores, or otherwise. And we wanted to find a means for reuse for our products.
The very first thing we do, we observe people in their natural habitat, figure out how they're interacting with bread, how they're using bread. The next thing we do is some consumer insights. We bring consumers into the classroom and do a focus group. Those develop into themes around which we generate new ideas. We prototype, we recheck them with consumers. And by the end of this really rapid 10 weeks, we will have solutions for the company to consider.
It's important for Bimbo Bakeries USA to have a dialogue and to help solve the food waste problem. We're a big company. We have an opportunity to provide a great amount of impact.
Waste is a social construct. So what you do with food determines whether it's food or waste, right? We want to reframe waste to think of it as not recycling food waste, but preventing food waste. We have a long history at Drexel of providing a lot of those ideas to our students.
I'm working on an avocado pit tea. Turns out avocado pits are really high in antioxidants. And I was like, whoa, we're just throwing these away. Like, we can create something out of this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. We're just not used to using it. That doesn't mean that we can't do other things with them.
The World Bank estimates that by 2050, we're going to have to increase food production by 50% to keep up with the growing population. If you're a farmer, if you're a baker, or whatever you're doing, no one can scale 50%. But then if you factor in that 33 to 40% that we're wasting and chip away at that 50% that we need, then you start to see, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. We're getting a lot of requests from food producers who want to green their habits or make healthier food, but they need help doing that. They need ideas, they need energy, they need talent, and we can work with them to provide that. Great, thanks for playing that, Amanda. So we've worked with many of the folks on this panel and in the organization more broadly. And as I mentioned, we will take sort of a sector by sector approach, starting, I believe, with Eric Adams from the pet food sector. And that is a perfect segue. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Adams, and I am with a Las Vegas local-based company called Dog and Whistle, where we are reducing the carbon footprint. Next slide, please. So with our solution, we're looking upcycling for pet health and the planet. So to sum it up for us here locally in Las Vegas, we are actually rescuing our foods from local distributors here, such as big names such as Cisco, Get Fresh, and local restaurant partners. And as we rescue those foods, we're transforming them into single ingredient upcycled dog treats, our pot-over toppers, as well as our D2C subscription meals. And we deliver to our customers here throughout Las Vegas, as well as throughout the United States, so your pups can enjoy. Next slide, please. So the one thing about Dog and Whistle, and as well as pet food, is that, since inception, we have really taken the opportunity to strike while the iron is hot. From participating with Dell for Startups down in Austin, Texas, as well as becoming an alumni within the Target Forward Founders Program, different speaking engagements with my colleagues here at Verge, SoCap, and then most noticeably with Sue from Net Zero at Tyson Demo, where we were actually able to provide one of our upcycling solutions within the pet food sector to the Tyson Foods company out in Arkansas, Arkansas. And then lastly, last year, we were actually able to have upcycling on the forefront in Times Square, as you can see in the top right, where we were highlighted at Times Square thanks to Generator. Next slide, please. So with 2024, there is a huge opportunity for not only upcycling, but for Dog and Whistle. So La Pup Cafe was one of the concepts that we had here locally, where guests were able to come in and have a Chipotle for dog experience, right? They were actually able to come in, have their fresh meals made to order, but we were able to actually speak about those upcycled ingredients that we were using, as well as the added benefits for your pups. And then as we are looking to transition that model into the retail space, where we're looking at having conversations with Target for Q4. And then, yes, DoorDash, as you can see, we are actually available on DoorDash, where we're having those subscription meals or those a la carte meals available for your pets, where you can order right through the app. But the most important thing to note is that there's a huge opportunity with the hotels here in Las Vegas, where we can actually become a solution for their food waste or the potential overabundance that's being produced due to buffets, as well as those numerous restaurants, where we can come in and create some type of private label pet food for those pet-friendly hotels. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everybody. My name's Laura Randin. I'm the Chief Innovation and Science Officer of Upcycled Foods, Inc. I have been in this role for about 18 months or so. And prior to that, I used to work for Dole Packaged Foods. And I was very involved in the upcycle movement then, because I joined the board, but I also helped set up the Dole Specialty Ingredients organization, which is essentially Dole's upcycled organization. So I have been on this journey with upcycle for a while. Next slide, please. So Upcycled Foods, we're a leader in the upcycled ingredient space. So essentially our role is to work with other food companies to help them get upcycled ingredient content into their products. We have a proprietary technology that allows us to create upcycled ingredients from food waste in a way that maintains nutrition and taste and quality. Our core ingredient is Super Grain Plus, which comes from the saved grain at the end of the brewing process. And it usually, and in the United States, obviously, there's quite a lot of beer being drunk. So there's more grain actually in this country than can feed people. So it's kind of a no-brainer to save that grain and put that back into food products. And we're now expanding our portfolio into a wide range of products. And the other thing that we do is provide food systems thinking and food system consultancy, because if you are a food company and you've been making food a certain way for quite a long time, and that is the case mostly when you consider food manufacturing today, that's what we refer to as food system 5. Adapting to food system 6, which is essentially a circular system, reutilizing waste, minimizing waste, is quite a task, is quite an arduous task. So we provide consultancy and expertise to those people who don't know what to do with their waste and don't know how to turn that into value, and don't realize often the sort of nutritional goldmine that they're sitting on, actually. Next slide, please. Excuse me. So I think it's important to reflect on where the waste is coming from. And we as human beings, and I think Amanda alluded to it at the beginning, we as human beings are still generating the most amount of waste at home. So 48% still comes from the way in which we behave. And there clearly needs to be a significant change in our mindset. And the National Strategy on Food Loss and Waste and Organic Recycling that was released 2 weeks ago will tackle some of that at a federal level. But since we're all here talking about food waste, it's a good time to remind ourselves that we're in control of that 48.2%. Where Upcycled Foods Inc. focuses is this 14.7% that comes from manufacturing. So any waste streams, byproducts, things that you would normally discard as part of your food manufacturing, that's really where we add value, and that's where we rescue nutrition and put that back into human food. Next slide, please. As I said, our core ingredient is Supergrain Plus, and we are getting that into a range of products. We now have it in bread. We're just about to launch some bread in Misfits Market. There's bread in Kroger, Stone and Skillet muffins, upcycled naan with the brand Datoria's, which is a bakery in the San Francisco area, and Daorio's pizza base also includes our Supergrain Plus. So it's my personal mission actually to try and get as much of Supergrain Plus into all baked goods across the whole of the US as possible, because to me it is a no-brainer not to reutilize waste materials like grain when it's so packed full of nutrition. Our Supergrain Plus is 50% fiber and around 30% protein. So why wouldn't you want to fortify your product with that? Why wouldn't you want to feed people, provide them with nutrient dense food, and at the same time reduce greenhouse gas emissions? We are showing here an expanded portfolio, and we're continuing to add to this portfolio, curating a range of ingredients that we see that our suppliers are looking for, whether that be a date sugar, a cassava flour, green banana flour, and so on. I think the important thing to remember here is that all of us got into upcycling because we worry about food waste from a greenhouse gas emission point of view, for sure. But my purpose is really to create as much accessible nutrition as possible. I'm only interested in creating more food that's more available to a wider subset of people. And one of the things I think about a lot is when we're rescuing food and rescuing nutrition and using that material to put back in food systems, how we're giving dignity back to food. And at the same time, by creating more accessible nutrition, we're giving back dignity back to the 44 million people possibly who are food insecure in this country. Last slide, please. The thing that I want to leave you with is whenever we're having a conversation about upcycled ingredients and upcycled food, people always ask you, what do they taste like? What does it look like? You know, and I always use this picture as a way of reminding everybody that upcycled ingredients, upcycled food are absolutely delicious. And if you don't believe me, go to Brooklyn and visit Fornino, where Chef Michael Ayub uses our Supergrain Plus in his pizza bases, and try it out for yourself. Thank you. Handing over to Emily.
Hi. Thanks, Laura. Hi, my name's Emily Darchuk, and I'm the founder and maker behind Wayward Spirit, where we use upcycled whey to handcraft first-of-its-kind, award-winning specialty spirits. Now, aside from being an entrepreneur, I'm also a food scientist, and I worked as a product developer for CPG companies doing everything from innovation to commercialization. But during my 10-year career, I saw ever-increasing gaps in our food system, which led to the food waste crisis that brings us all here today. I also saw big companies increasingly focus on cost savings, leaving the problem solving of innovation to entrepreneurs who could actually focus and take risks. That led to my aha moment that instead of being frustrated at the problem, I could be part of the solution and take the opportunity to create the type of product and company that I always hoped I got the opportunity to work on. And on that journey, my biggest realization was that waste isn't really waste. And you can take a step back and a holistic look at our food system. You can actually bridge the gaps in our existing supply chain and handcraft a product that adds value to not only the producers, but also our customers. And my personal founder journey helped us define our wayward spirit and the guiding principles of our company to do things differently for the right reasons, which explains not only what we make, but also why we make it. Next. And a big part of that need for innovation comes from the spirits industry's been stuck in the 1920s and a marketing narrative of prohibition versus stepping up and actually meeting the consumer and sustainability realities of the 2020s and beyond. Part of that is because the US government's defined guardrails for categories of distilled spirits. But at Wayward Spirit, we're breaking the mold. Our innovation defines us as a specialty spirit and provides a competitive advantage to deliver fundamentally better spirits where consumers can taste a difference and make a difference. Next. And the Wayward difference is really to allow our customer to do more with less, have less bottles behind the bar, but more inspiration on cocktail creation. We're all about sippability, sustainability, and versatility. Our motto is for the adventurous spirit, we offer a 2-bottle solution that can enable the creation of any cocktail under the sun, delivering versatility with values. Next. And we're defined as a specialty spirit, not only because of our waste source, but also our more holistic and artisanal approach to crafting our spirits. By being a category other than a vodka, gin, tequila, whiskey, or rum, we actually have the freedom to innovate, allowing us to make all of our decisions based on both flavor and impact, delivering beautifully balanced spirits that also fights food waste. Our goal and the opportunity with Wayward Spirit was really to connect people to where their food comes from, which I believe is the most powerful education you can actually do as an upcycler. Our farm to flask food waste story starts with milk. For every 10 pounds of milk, you can only make 1 pound of cheese, leaving behind 9 pounds of whey. With over 100 billion pounds of whey produced annually and over half of that ending up as food waste, something needed to be done. So we took a more circular approach to our production. So not only could we prevent food waste now, we could also sustainably scale. So rather than a traditional grain, grape, or agave as a fermentive base of our spirits, we upcycle domestically sourced whey. We ferment and distill this whey with our unique process that produces a spirit with a fraction of the carbon and water footprint and prevents gallons of food waste with every bottle we make. Along the way, we're also proud to support domestic agriculture from farm to flask with our gluten, grain, lactose, and additive-free spirits that are fully upcycled and sustainably made. We're also women-owned and operated, which is very unique in the spirit space, and we're proud to be award-winning and to deliver a true functional benefit to enable creative cocktails that our customers can feel good about from the first sip to the last drop. Next. And we're passionate about not only being ambassadors for the upcycling movement, but also educating how upcycling connects to the sustainable impact and trying to leverage all that powerful data that now exists. We also work on farm to flask partnerships to showcase the supply chain that we fit into to better help people understand the concept of upcycling as a whole. Next. And our first product launch was Wayward Spirit. And our intention really with Wayward Spirit was to create a signature flavor that stayed true to our waste source all the way through fermentation and distillation. Our spirit has delicate hints of oaky vanilla, warm spice, and a silky smoothness with a slightly sweet aroma. This is a beautifully balanced spirit that can actually act like the Swiss Army knife of spirits, allowing you to replace vodka, gin, tequila, whiskey, or rum as the base of our cocktail. That allows us to add value and our customer to be able to elevate the classics or bring a creative intentionality to cocktail creation. This allows for endless farm to table, farm to flask pairings and collaborations. We're also proud to have changed the paradigm on what a best in class spirit looks like, winning some of the top awards and competitions around the world. Next. And it's not often you can say that many gold medals goes into the barrel, but without Wayward Spirit, you can't make Wayward Whiskey. Wayward Whiskey is our newest launch, and it's our barrel-aged version of our original spirit, now bringing people on a journey from farm to cask to flask with a more sustainable aged spirit alternative. Again, as a specialty spirit, we're focused on flavor and impact with a more approachable and balanced flavor than a grain whiskey. And we do even more sustainable processes like recoupering our barrels, which is essentially upcycling again. Next. And because sustainability nor innovation has really been something that the alcohol industry has embraced, one of our biggest challenges was really hammering home that now with our spirit, your sustainability initiatives and values don't have to stop at the bar. We worked with values aligned partners to reach larger audience.
Sorry, Emily, go ahead.
No worries. And to give way to broader discussions on how to do food waste prevention in the home, in the restaurant, and behind the bar. A lot has also changed since we launched about 5 years ago. People are a lot more intentional on how and when and what they drink, and upcycling is now one of the biggest industry trends due to the work of UFA and all of the member companies. Next. And we really want to leverage our differentiation to, again, change the paradigm of what best-in-class spirits can look like. And as someone passionate about preventing food waste, we also wanted to inspire culinary creativity through waste-free cocktails and storytelling through drinks that help connect the kitchen to the bar to help prevent food waste and on-premise. Can you play the video?
Looking for a spirit that's as adventurous as you are? With Wayward Spirit, you can taste a difference and make a difference with our versatile, sustainable, and velvety smooth spirit, handcrafted from 100% upcycled whey. Our sippably smooth specialty spirit elevates everything from the classics to modern cocktail creations, so the options are endless. Wayward Spirit offers award-winning versatility with values, so you can feel good about what's in your glass from the first sip to the last.
Thanks. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Peter, the Chief.
Yeah, so as Laura was saying, we really want to focus on best in class, talking about quality, and really giving dignity to the way that was previous trash by connecting people to it, and not only connecting people to that ingredient, but also empowering them to learn more about their broader food system and take creativity in how they approach what they eat as well. And with this growing movement, I really believe that it's incredibly important that everyone not only does the work, but also talks about the work that they're doing so that consumers not only understand that there's an issue with food waste, but that there's actually brands and organizations that they can support to help be part of the solution. We're really proud of our partnerships from farm to flask, and even launched an ice cream in collaboration with Ben & Jerry's, where they brought back one of their fan favorite flavors with the same taste and less waste because of Wayward Spirit. Last slide. So in my mind, community and collaboration is absolutely critical for the food waste movement going forward, and we'd love to find ways to collaborate with others in this room. We also invite everyone to join our herd online at our website, waywardspirit.com. Cheers.
Thank you, Emily, especially for your graciousness with jumpy slides today. So we're going to conquer the Zoom videos a third time, being that member Sue Marshall wasn't able to join us today. So she pre-recorded a conversation with Eden on the UFA team. So enjoy listening in to hearing Sue share about her company, Net Zero.
You today. Hi, Sue. Nice to have you today. Just to kick off our session with you, I'd love to pose a couple questions. The first is, how do you scale technology solutions to increase upcycling streams and fight food waste all along the supply chain?
I think we're at a really great crossroads right now with upcycled foods. So this is a great topic to be discussing, is how to actually put it on steroids, right? Like, how do we really scale this? How do we make a difference? And how do we make it a model that everybody can participate in, which was our goal originally as founders of UFA. So I'm really excited to discuss this particular topic, which happens to be the topic at the Waste Expo this year. Just came from ReFed, and it was a similar context. So I think everybody out there is ready to actually put scale in mind here. Most of this in my world, having equipment and technology, software and hardware, to actually focus on scaling has been my go-to for 5 years. So I'm pretty excited right now that we're focusing on it. Last week at Refed, of course, it was about diverting, to those in need, that kind of food. At the end of the day, what we do here at the upcycling in our ecosystem, and we take the byproduct streams, which tend to get less attention because it's not obvious, right? We're not in food and beverage manufacturing facilities every day and see this stuff coming out tons a day, nor do consumers or normal people out there have the privilege, I call it a privilege actually, to see it. In my mind, when I see it, I see impact. I see people being fed with macronutrients that are being wasted. Dr. Lara last week did a great job talking about food as medicine, right? And then I see consistency, all those great brands we have out there, Upcycled Food Association using the certification. How do we support those and get those ingredients to the market, to them to use at a price that actually makes that financially sustainable? And that's really the concentration right now, is taking a look at that volume that exists and processing it efficiently, safely, and then at a price point that all of the brands out there and any new innovators in product development can actually be assured the price is going to be within that to make them money. And then also in volumes, in consistency, so that they can actually scale their own products as well. So it's an exciting time, Eden. When we talk about scale and efficiency, the problem, when people ask me, well, if this is such a great idea to get these byproducts, be it spent grain or calcium from eggshells or vanilla pods from vanilla extract, any of those pummices, people say, well, if it's such a good idea, how come it hasn't been commercialized in a big deal? And I'll tell you, the reason that I see is because there's so much transportation, right? You have the manufacturers, whether it's food or beverage, having these pummices and these mashes coming out. They go into trucks. They go all over the place, farms, land application, horrible landfill, right, situations. And at the end of the day, that's a lot of trucking. And most of it, as we all know, is water. Most of the time, 2/3 of it's going to be water. So we need to stop that process, and we need to look at what we can do at the source when it's coming out of food manufacturing. How do we eliminate some of those steps so that it can be done more efficiently? So that's really what Net Zero plays. We play in having equipment on site or as close as possible, which could be a mile or two, right? So you save that transportation loop. And then the water is taken out immediately, and then it is safely done so that it's ready to eat, human consumption. This isn't gone to a dumpster and then we're trying to work with it. This is completely safe, coming right out of manufacturing. So all those steps are saved, and then we go directly to the next point of contact, which could be the manufacturer direct, or it could be some sort of post-processing like milling or grinding, something along that line. And then it's put right into food products. So looking at the carbon footprint and the measurement of that, clearly it's going to save a lot of time and money and environmental impact. And that's where we want to be. Yeah, let's talk about byproducts and volumes. I mentioned that and the consistency thereof. And when you tell the numbers, a lot of times, you're at Refed or these types of food waste summits, and they use the word 40, 50 billion, pounds. That is coming from food service, the restaurants, the people who already have the food that we as consumers don't eat. What happens in the byproduct world is not regulated or measured in most cases. So you can have one facility alone have 3 times that much money, that much amount a year. So that's the part that has to happen. We have to start tracking this. And for us at the upcycled food industry, we have to track it because anyone who wants to make products from these ingredients wants to know how much of it they're going to be able to get their hands on, right? So it's important. So I think the very first night, I had a lot of conversations last week at Refed with USDA and EPA. We don't want governments making us track it. So we had conversations on how do we incentivize these big manufacturers to want to count it. And in my world, it all matters if they can make money. So we're at a precipice right now where we can show them that they not only are going to save on their waste fees for hauling this away, they're actually going to make money. then they're gonna wanna measure it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Incentive is really everything, and it backs everything that we do.
And then that lends to decreasing the price, right? So that's what we need to do too as an industry, is we need to say what along the food supply chain, and this all goes back to farmers as well. And I have a lot of great stakeholders in that, in the up there at the farming level. How do we support each other along that supply chain so efficiencies can be had and people can actually participate in that revenue and that financial sustainability part of it? And up until now, when I first got into this 5 years ago with the upcycled food folks and then into refit and the food waste type, it wasn't an idea to actually look at it as necessarily making money, but to save money and then to also feed people, which is great. We need to keep doing that. But what happens in that world is the funding tends to be more philanthropic. You don't get the people into that world until they can see profit. And so we're seeing now with the success we've had with UFA, with the certification, and now where Food Comes From has that, and they're going to scale it. And then consumer awareness will increase. And then the idea of more brands and more volume with those food products will come to be if the rest of us are supporting that. And that can come all the way from farmers. Farmers love it. People told me, oh, farmers are not going to like you because you're using grain again instead of letting them grow grain. That has not been the case. They want to diversify. They want biodiversity. They want to heal the soil. They don't want.
Momentary pause while the internet catches up with our video. Apologies, folks. Technical difficulties, troubleshooting, and hopefully we'll get back rolling here in a moment.
Crop. They want their beautiful artisan grains or whatever they put so many resources, time, and effort into growing to be fully utilized. So it's not the mentality that I ran into at all. And this is, of course, the smaller, medium-sized farms that really care about how they're growing. But that's where our support system can come from right now. So I'm really excited with having Amanda coming to UFA and her running the boat now because her background is that supply chain. And we do have a lot of people now coming to the table that are in various aspects of the supply chain. So it's exciting. The 3 pillars, as I see it, that is necessary for the industries to survive is a more catalytic, collaborative approach around knowledge. And by the way, I'm privileged and humbled to be around folks at Upcycled Food Association that have the knowledge, whether it's food science, development, Jonathan at Drexel, Laura, Dr. Laura, these folks have knowledge in food science. And then in our world, it's infrastructure and facilities. So we have this knowledge base that can support. It's one thing to invent a cool piece of equipment like Net Zero did, and it's a whole nother thing to understand why someone should even buy it and what is the impacts in a facility, how should they be looking at the equipment to make it appropriate. And then, of course, at the end, there's the connections, right? So we have knowledge, we have equipment and technology, which Net Zero is not the only one. There's a lot of great technologies out there being developed. And then the connections to the end markets. And again, the Upcycled Food Association has done a great job of creating those connections too, because nothing works until you have the folks who want to use those ingredients into new food products. And all that takes place in that supply chain to get it successfully to them. So really, you have to have all 3 pillars to have that stool strong. Yeah, and Net Zero, we went into this, and I'll say, being up in Minnesota, we had a lot of food companies, clearly General Mills, Land O'Lakes, a lot of the big folks here who were all interested from day one, because whey protein was created, commercialized out of this area up in the country. So they all know that there is definitely potential in a lot of these byproducts. But what they, of course, want to say is, well, all that equipment is too expensive. And that has been true. So we went at it saying, okay, we're gonna make a piece of equipment that everyone can buy. So at $489,000, this is something people can like get started doing versus millions of dollars. But the best thing about what we do is we make it food safe at the same time. So you can dry something, but that does not mean that it's ready to eat for humans or pets. So what we did is we said, we want a piece of equipment that does all of this at one time. And that's really the unique value proposition here, because again, you save a lot of those steps. So we do that. At the end of the day, what I'm really excited about, and this is, it might be a competitive advantage for Net Zero right now because we've been focusing on data. So that equipment harnesses the data. Most of that data has been food safety focused. But now we're going into carbon measurement, right? So the idea of saying, should I take spent grain and make it grain again? And if I do that, does it really make an impact on the environment? What is the carbon measurement of doing that versus growing grain completely over again? So we all know data is everything, AI, and all stuff. But really what we need to do to get the big companies involved in this is get into the measurement, and that is scope 3. And I'll tell you, at the Waste Expo, one of the things I walked away with was how many big companies, large companies, were asking me about how does this fit into their scope 3? And what they're saying is they have KPIs, and their KPIs are related to scope 3. And scope 3, of course, is the supply chain. So it's not just what they do directly, but it's what's coming throughout their supply chain and how they can focus on the efficiencies for carbon reduction within that. So they see upcycled food as they're in their scope 3. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy equipment and put it in their company, but it does mean that they're going to check all the stakeholders in their supply chain and assist in some way and support in some way for them to be better at doing what they do from a carbon perspective. Then they get credit for that in scope 3. I had no idea the US would be advanced on this. Right now, I thought it would take a couple more years. They're talking about it all around the world. They already operate scope 3. So I'm really excited to see the change in the United States in the next 24 months around this particular content and scope 3. So at Upcycled Food Association, those who are watching, start really taking a look and learning about what these big food companies, and I don't care if it's food service or manufacturers, they definitely have scope 3 KPIs and requirements. So start really like peeking around and see what those are.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, especially as everyone has carbon targets to meet more and more.
Yeah, and what's exciting, what I tell people about upcycled food is, not only can we save carbon, we can make carbon. Like we can do things in the upcycled food world to show that we're actually putting back, right? So that's what we want to take a look at from an ecosystem perspective is how do we communicate what we do from its entirety to not only, save money on something, replacing some of these ingredients with upcycled ingredients, but how we feed people. And then how some of it will even go back into these other amazing technologies for, soil health and restoring. There's a lot going on out there that byproducts can also help with. And again, having them captured safely is the first step. And then once we have them, then we can decide how that impacts carbon. And that is exciting. I have a feeling that most of us don't understand the power we're sitting on. And in the next 5 years, it's going to be super exciting. Yeah, so Net Zero is a food upcycling platform that safely captures and converts food byproducts into new ingredients at scale, of course, safely for human consumption. We are currently in negotiations to license the equipment. And again, from my world, I didn't just want to invent a widget and be cool. That is cool. But at the end of the day, how do I get that equipment everywhere, right? And so that's what the point we're at right now is we're talking global to global supply chain folks in the equipment world that can take this equipment as some tool in their toolbox. Because in most cases, they're already selling great equipment to food and beverage manufacturers. how do they just plug this one in the back? So instead of these big clunky, they might even say sophisticated dumpsters in the back, wonder if it was this beautiful equipment that turns what they thought was waste and that was going into a dumpster into safely converting instantaneously human food. That is the idea of that, and the impact of that can go pretty quickly if net zero partners with the right people. So that's what we're doing right now. So we're excited. More to come. Keep your eye out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sue, for all the incredible work going on at Net Zero. And we're honored to have your insights today.
Yeah. And hi to everybody out there. Have a great time. Thanks, Eden.
Well, we're so grateful to Sue for bringing her energy into this conversation today. So grateful to our panelists across the stories of Upcycled Food Association members today. And hopefully you feel as inspired by any and many of these stories and what it brings to life for you and what you might be up to, whether you're just an eater, an individual consumer, or somebody working across the food system. We really want to be a community for you to come, to learn, to share, whether you might have an existing upcycled product or whether you're just thinking about how to start this journey as somebody in a company or somebody creating a company or somebody working in anywhere across the supply chain. So welcome you to hop on our website, reach out to our team, learn more about membership. And we are really pleased to be offering a special promotion to culminate Upcycled Food Month. So invite you to grab that code and reach out to our team to learn more. Well, to wrap us up today, thank you so much to each of our speakers, Jonathan, Laura, Sue, Eric, and Emily, for sharing your perspective on what has upcycling been in the past 5 years and where is upcycling going in the next 5 years and beyond ahead. We're so thrilled to have this global movement be at such a significant point of scale, at such a significant point of coordination, and just really getting to that perspective of this massive opportunity and something we can all be sharing part in on the road ahead. So again, welcome you to chime in with your upcycling perspective with the link there in the QR code or the survey link in the Q&A. Thank you all for listening in, sharing your perspectives. Invite you to reach out to us. The email is on the screen. Keep in touch and let's have this be an ongoing conversation. Happy Upcycled Food Month. We'll connect again soon. Take care all.